resort is unique, the only one of its kind. Experience the 4 paths of natural wellness: yoga, Ayurveda, acupuncture, and naturopathy. Each uniquely customized program improves the whole person to make every person whole. Come to WION Health Resort. Make your reservation at WION.com.
I am standing right outside the United Nations headquarters, where the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be leading the International Yoga Day celebrations on the 21st of June.
Watch India's global channel as it joins Prime Minister Narendra Modi at the Mega Yoga Day celebrations.
In the biggest display of Indian soft power from the sea of multilateralism, International Yoga Day. A comprehensive coverage all this week, only on WION World is One.
Gravitas goes where the news is. All through this week, we are coming to you live from the United States to keep you on top of every development around the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi's state visit to the US. The glitz, the glamour, and the geopolitics. Gravitas is your one-stop destination.
This month, all eyes will be on Washington as the Indian Prime Minister embarks on his first ever state visit to the United States.
Hello and welcome to WION World is One. You're with me, Katie Pilbeam, and I'm broadcasting live from London this hour. Let's get to the headlines. Big China-Nepal landmark. China's Sichuan Airlines aircraft becomes the first international flight to land at Nepal's Pokhara Airport. The Chinese envoy terms it a new chapter in China-Nepal connectivity and cooperation.
I am a fan of Modi. I can say he really wants to do the right thing for India. He wants to be open, he wants to be supportive of new companies.
I'm a fan of Modi. Well, you heard it there. The Tesla chief Elon Musk, after meeting the Indian Prime Minister in New York, saying that Tesla to be in India as soon as humanly possible. Underwater noises detected in the search for missing sub in North Atlantic, says the US Coast Guard, as rescuers race against time to find the vessel, with oxygen on board continuously depleting. Yoga camps held in India and worldwide to mark International Yoga Day. PM Modi and UN officials to participate in celebrations at the UN headquarters in New York. It's a race against time as the Coast Guards of US and Canada, they frantically continue to conduct search operations in the North Atlantic region to locate the missing submersible in the 3rd day now. It's been more than 48 hours since the sub Titan was first reported missing. Well, there are emerging reports bringing a silver lining of hope now. A Canadian aircraft has detected underwater noises in the North Atlantic. So far, the newly relocated searches by remotely operated vehicles came up empty-handed, but the search crew has said that they will continue to explore and find the source of these detected noises. Well, according to the US Coast Guard, US and Canadian aircraft have searched more than 10,000 square miles of open air sea as of Tuesday morning. A French research ship carrying its own deep-sea diving robot vessel was dispatched to the search area and is expected to arrive Wednesday night local time. So it's already there at this point. Now, the command is coordinating search efforts from the US Coast Guard Center in Boston, Massachusetts. Now, here's what we know of the incident so far. Let's go through some of the details. So, on Sunday, the submersible had set out to explore the wreckage of the infamous Titanic. But less than 2 hours into the sea dive, the research vessel Polar Prince lost contact with Titan. Now, the US Coast Guard now says that less than 40 hours of oxygen is expected to remain inside the submersible.
Search efforts have continued through last night and today. Today, the vessel Deep Energy, a 194-meter pipe-laying vessel, arrived on scene with underwater ROV capability. They have rendezvoused with the vessel Polar Prince and commenced an ROV dive at the last known of the position of the Titan and the approximate position of the Titanic wreck.
Well, the breathing apparatus can go on for a total of 96 hours for a capacity of 5 people. According to tourism firm OceanGate, the Titanic expedition cost $250,000 per person and takes people on the wreckage of the sunken ship. The trip starts off in St. John's, Newfoundland, before heading out approximately 600 kilometers into the Atlantic to the wreckage site. An effort to reconstruct a battered Ukraine after months of war. That's the focus of a meeting of leaders from more than 60 countries that is underway right now in London. The Ukraine Reconstruction Conference will be about securing funding for massive repair and revival of the country. It's the second such meeting after Russia invaded Ukraine in February last year. Well, the World Bank claims an estimated $40 million is needed for Ukraine's immediate needs. On the other hand, a recent study by the World Bank, UN, EU, and Ukrainian government claims the recovery of the economy will cost more than $440 billion. Well, in the first meeting in Switzerland, Ukrainian Prime Minister Denis Shmyhal told the leaders the cost of rebuilding Ukraine would be $750 billion. Ukraine is seeking up to $40 billion to fund the first part of a green Marshall Plan to rebuild its economy. Now, this includes developing a coal-free steel industry. Well, the British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak has outlined a $3 billion assistance package at the start of the meeting. World Bank President had said the guarantees would allow it to continue to help people rebuild their lives after the devastation. Well, today's conference is expected to focus on energy and tech sectors. The leaders will also discuss how to use the tens of billions of dollars of frozen Russian assets for reconstruction. US Secretary of State Antony Blinken, European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen are also attending. Ukraine President Volodymyr Zelensky addressed the meeting virtually.
Happy to see you, Rishi, Mr. Prime Minister.
Alex Isaac is following the story in London for us. Alex, hopefully you can hear me just now. So what more has Rishi Sunak been saying at the conference?
Well, Rishi Sunak has been promising that he would be helping move the economy forward, not just in a monetary fund, that it will be helping those people within the country rebuild and reposition themselves as a forward-thinking leader of the market. Now, it's very interesting that Prime Minister Rishi Sunak is leading this conference, as you rightly say, the second of its type. He has been pushing that one of his legacies before, if he does leave Parliament next year, is to try and be this peacemaker, and he does really try and amp up the fact that he is bringing everyone together to try and have these discussions about how they can help Ukraine. But of course, we're still seeing at the moment there is still an assault on the ground in Ukraine. So talking about this green power, talking about this move to help with efficiency and going forward to make sure that the people are looked after, well, that is going to be an after effect of what is still continuing to go on. And we do understand also that there has been some information with regards to how much money that America has put in. There was a small conference this morning ahead of the official start, and Antony Blinken had said that they had overestimated how much money that they had given, so that they aren't likely to be putting in huge swathes of funds for this particular time, because they'd have to go to Congress and ask for more money. So already there we're having a small stumbling block on how much money is going forward. There is a lot of people in the room, a lot of people wanted to be talking about how to move on, but we are still facing the crisis within the country itself. But we are seeing others who we aren't expecting necessarily to come to these talks, Turkey being one of them, and that there is hope that it isn't just about how we're going to change and fight for Ukraine's people and making sure that they are rebuilt, but also going to the future. How will we look to making sure that everybody is on the same track? And that's something that Prime Minister Rishi Sunak is really keen to be pushing. He wants Britain to be seen as this peacemaker, as the country that is going to help everyone come together and try and allay peace there. But it is a huge task, and at the moment it is all about money and it's all about funds, while there is still ongoing fighting. So it is quite a plan for the future, but that future we don't have an end date yet for.
No, you're quite right, we don't. And that's the problem, isn't it? It's absolutely devastating what's happening in Ukraine at the moment. But the cost of all of this, the billions, are quite astronomical. They're quite mind-blowing, a lot of them. We've got our own economic problems here in the UK, but there still remains a lot of support for the Ukrainian people.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. I've been talking to people around, and they are still really supportive of helping those in Ukraine. Of course, there is a fine line there, though. Well, people are suggesting that they're not really that comfortable with the money going over to weaponry. That's all we've been seeing. Volodymyr Zelensky has been going on his tour with his hand out, asking for help for military gains. But this particular one is with regards to how they're helping rebuild and how they're helping the Ukrainian people, and that would sit a lot better with a lot of the UK public, because they don't want to see a war that's still ongoing. They want to see that the people are getting the help that they need to help rebuild those devastated parts of the country. So that is also really quite important to the UK public. We saw not just at the beginning when this all started, the amount of clothes, the amount of money that was given, but even now there are still a whole host of people putting up Ukrainian flags, that they are still really supportive about trying to ensure that the people in Ukraine know that the UK public is absolutely behind them. But of course, you're right, the cost of living crisis is still ongoing, and that's obviously not something that's going to be ended soon. And with these huge amounts of money, a lot of people will be asking, well, what are you doing to help us as well? Obviously, Rishi Sunak promised his 5 priorities, which still hasn't really come into fruition. And of course, Labour is on the back of his heels, their opposition party, suggesting that although they wouldn't do anything different, they would also offer the money to Ukraine to ensure that those people are safe and can move forward. They don't really have much insight into how they're going to affect this cost of living crisis either. So even though one issue for the UK public is that we're trying to help others, a lot of people are asking, how are we going to help ourselves as well? How's the government going to help us? And those questions have yet to be answered.
Alex Isaac, thank you so very much indeed. Well, talking of inflation then, stagnant UK inflation figures for May have taken forecasters by surprise. They had hoped for the situation to ease, but fresh figures for May show UK inflation rate remained static at 8.7%. Well, markets had forecast a drop in inflation. Bank of England was widely expected to raise interest rates to combat the inflation rate. Well, we'll find out about the Bank of England later, but the latest data brings enormous pressure on the UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak and his Tory government act on soaring prices. Sunak had said slashing inflation was one of his priorities. The Bank of England has already lifted borrowing costs to a 15-year high at 4.5% in a bid to cool inflation. They meet later on today as well. Now, the rate is expected to rise further after a regular policy meeting. Now, the UK has already witnessed months of strikes by workers demanding higher wages to help with the cost of living crisis. But this situation still looms large over the UK, with millions of Britons still struggling with energy and food prices. A new survey by Paragon Bank says half of UK's small businesses have been forced to raise prices to cope with escalating energy bills. Okay, Elon Musk, the renowned CEO of Tesla, of course, and SpaceX, well, he finds himself captivated by the visionary leader of Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi as India's appeal to global investors like Tesla continues to charge ahead. Well, during a meeting in New York, the Starlink CEO was starstruck by the PM Modi's profound dedication to India's progress. The Prime Minister's passion for his country left Musk spellbound, solidifying his admiration for Modi's vision.
It was a fantastic meeting with the Prime Minister, and I like him quite a lot. He visited our Fremont factory several years ago, and so we've now known each other for a while. I can say he really wants to do the right thing for India. He wants to be open. He wants to be supportive of new companies, and obviously, but at the same time, make sure it accrues to India's advantage, which is, obviously that's the job.
Well, amidst discussions centred on electric vehicles, Tesla's interest in making substantial investments in India was fervently expressed. The visit of Tesla executives to India in May further underscored the company's keenness to establish a manufacturing base in the country. With the Indian government actively supporting new ventures, Modi's commitment to ensuring India's growth aligned perfectly with Musk's aspirations. Well, their synergy hits at a promising future for Tesla's presence in India. India's growing popularity among big investors like Tesla is set to propel the nation to new heights. With Modi's visionary leadership and Tesla's fascination, India's trajectory as a global investment hub appears brighter than ever. Right now, if you have been receiving spam calls on WhatsApp, there's some good news for you now. WhatsApp has announced a new feature that lets users mute incoming calls from unknown numbers. WhatsApp is calling the feature Silence Unknown Callers. The feature is available on both Android and iOS. This is a welcome move since a lot of WhatsApp users were getting spam calls from international numbers. So if you've been at the receiving end of spammers, this is what you can do to disable the feature. Open WhatsApp and tap on the three dots located in the top right corner. Then go to Settings and click on Privacy. Select Calls and then enable Silence Unknown Callers. However, do note that such calls will be visible in the call list so that users can check if it was from someone important or even that they know, who knows. Now, additionally, WhatsApp has also introduced Privacy Checkup to help users see all the privacy options available on the app. This step-by-step guide helps users navigate and customize their privacy settings effectively. Users can check their privacy settings by selecting Start Checkup in the Privacy settings.